All systems active. Launch sequence activated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You are listening to Beyond the Verse, a Star Citizen podcast. A show dedicated to Cloud Imperium games, Star Citizen, and Squadron 42. Whether you fight, explore, unite, and or trade, we bring you news, updates, interviews, reviews, and analysis. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a pour of Radegast, and join us as we go Beyond the Verse. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Verse, Star Citizen podcast. I'm your host, Solus, and we did it. We have made it to episode 50, our gold anniversary episode, and I don't really even know where to start with the sentiment and all of that, but I have an hour and a half to 2 hours to get into it with you. I'm looking forward to it. Welcome back to the show, my good friend from episode 1. Conniff. How you doing, sir?
Thank you. I'm doing well.
Good.
I don't know how to follow up any of that. Never do, frankly. But
well,
at this point, you know, I'm like when you started this podcast, I was the master and you were but the learner, and that's not even true, because by that point you had just completely inundated yourself with Star Citizen lingo and everything.
Yeah.
So I feel like I am the casual, just along for the ride sort. Like I'm Pippin and you're Gandalf, and I'm like, where are we going? You know,
good pull.
I have no idea.
Well, you humble me. Obviously, you humble me. And guys, if you haven't listened to episode 1, go back to episode 1. Basically, it's our origin story. We go all the way back to Elder Scrolls Online and all the way up to now. So I don't necessarily want to rehash that, but Conniff, you've paved the way, and you've been along for the ride this entire time, all 50 episodes. Now, you did take a hiatus, though. I got to call you out on that. You did take a break from Star Citizen like every other backer.
But can you blame me?
Nope.
For 319 and whatever it was, 318?
Not at
Something.
all. Not at all. So before we get into any of this, like I would love to catch up with you real quick. So before you jumped into our org nights and really became a beloved member of Soul Provision, where have you been? What have you been doing?
Well, I took myself, not just a hiatus from Star Citizen, but I took a hiatus from any sort of content creation, really just focusing on my real life, which is job, family, kids.
Yeah.
And over the course of however long that was, a few months, you end up getting the bug and you're like, yeah, I've got a lot of wasted thoughts up in here.
Yes.
They need to somehow come out of this and enter the mic and then go out on the internet for all the history of time to judge and whatever. And so myself and my dear friend Shiloh, we came up with a podcast called Questing the Multiverse, which is our sort of end-all be-all on podcasting for us, where we can pivot between various different games or IPs even. So like now we're doing episodes. I'm reading and he's listening to the audiobook Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh yeah.
And so we're doing a bit of a book club, if you will, about that.
Yeah.
But when we started the podcast, that was Baldur's Gate 3 season. And so, as you are probably aware, that game was massive and still is. And so we started the show talking about that. And then Starfield and something. So eventually, the pendulum is swinging well, back and forth is what pendulums do, but let's take the one that goes, like in a circle and all
Sure.
around and every which way. Eventually, that pendulum will swing the direction of Star Citizen.
Yeah.
And then these roles will be reversed, and you will join myself and Shiloh.
You bet.
And we'll just let you talk the whole time because you have all the information. In fact, I felt real odd today, and listener, you might enjoy this, but again, I was the one that paved. I'm the reason you are here.
100%.
I can't really take the credit for that. He's done all the work, but I'm the one that got him into the game. And so when he first started, he would ask me all these questions, just day in and day out. 7 a.m. Hey,
I know
by the way, if I get this ship and I take it to Daymar, am I able to do this? And I barely knew, but I knew enough to give you the answer.
Yep.
And so even just today, as we were prepping for the show, I was asking you those type of basic questions. And I always think that's fascinating because it's it's not just wasted knowledge. Especially for a game like this that is pioneering so much in the video game industry. You're learning things that are basically state-of-the-art features for video games. So anyway, the roles have reversed. You are the master. And I will say credit to your community because there's people in there that know way beyond you as well.
Yes.
And that's always probably humbling, but
and like a good leader, I elevated them to officership in our org. So I'm like, you know what? I don't know crap about mining. So hey, Mech-It, guess what you're doing? Hey, I suck at aerial combat. Hey, Groza, guess what you're doing? Like a good leader. I don't pretend like I know anything. But it has been. It's been 50 episodes, 52 weeks. It's been an entire year of really just diving into one game. I've taken maybe a couple of days off, and you alluded to this, but you always go back to your constant, and that's Star Citizen. No other game's doing it. And it's annoying, Conniff. I'm not going to lie, dude. It's annoying because I'll get into Baldur's Gate, and I'm like, man, it'd be really cool if I could just go wherever I wanted to go.
Have you always been this way? That's my question for you is, as far as video games go, because I've noticed this a lot, with your community members, a lot of them, they'll play, like Helldivers 2 is really big right now.
Yep.
At the time of this episode being live. And do you find yourself constantly, not single-minded always sounds so negative,
insulting,
but you know what I mean. Have you always been I want to pour my energy into a singular experience, or have you maybe fluctuated over time and become now as life? You're super busy in real life.
No.
Do you find it now that you're a singular-minded focus, singular drive, or have you ever gone the quantity over quality, I guess?
No, that's a brilliant question. I've purposefully segregated my creative outlet and my gaming outlet. So if I'm going to create content, I go both feed into that one product. If you remember the Natural Ones D&D, Elder Scrolls Online, Natural Ones D&D, New World, it was just, that's all I focused on. There was nothing else I touched from a creative aspect. But then if I just, I don't know, Tuesday night, my brother and I wanted to jump in a game and play, I would go into Payday, right? I would go into Halo 2 or some nonsense, right? Just to eat up time. So I think it's kind of an answer to both. If I'm going to create something, I'm going to go all in because I think the listener deserves that. And if I'm going to say I am the fastest growing podcast for Star Citizen, I need to back that up, right? I need to be able to provide something other than just, hey, there's this really awesome moment where I flew the 890 jump into the Carrick. I lawn darted the Carrick into
and I think we told that story in episode 1, so
it's always worth telling.
But it did
again.
happen.
It did.
And I don't let him forget it. So
I deserve it. Yeah. I'm brand new to the game. This is maybe another side of that story, but I'm brand new to the game, and I got cocky. I got very cocky and was like, you know what? There's a Super Hornet. There's these small agile ships. No, I'm gonna fly the freaking Carrick.
Oh yeah, so you're why not learn on a school bus? You know, right. I'm going to learn how to driving a semi. That's basically what you did.
Yep, and gravity was not kind. that fateful night. So, but yeah, Conniff, I'm blessed to have you on. Just kind of wrap up the introduction here. Blessed to have you on full circle 49 episodes ago. Man, we haven't really looked back. I mean, it's been nonstop. I think we have a total, and I can pull up the list specifically, but we have a total of like 9 guests, to include CIG's Galactica, just non-stop producing and great, phenomenal conversations, wonderful relationships. And I think this is a good segue into like our first introduction. My dear friend Starjump Grim sent me a voicemail, and I just want to play that to get us started. It means so much to me. Emails mean so much to me. The messages on Spotify's Q&A mean so much to me. But taking time out of your day to produce, like an audio greeting is pretty special. So I'm just going to play this real quick. I'm humbled. I'm honored to be able to play this. This is Starjump Grim.
Hey everybody, this is Starjump Grim, and wanted to send a big congratulations on the 50th episode of Beyond the Verse podcast. Really, really cool. As someone who's done a little bit of podcasting myself in the past, hitting 50 episodes is quite an achievement. So well done, and just want to say thank you for continuing to bring positivity and goodwill to the Star Citizen community, which is something you've been doing since the beginning. So you've got a fan of me. Thanks. Have a great show.
Love it. Yeah, and this is not going to be an hour and a half of like praise Solus, praise Beyond the Verse.
I won't let that happen. Don't you worry.
No, you'll humble me very quickly.
I was going to say, Starjump Grim sounds like he does podcasts. So.
Yes, he does. Yeah. Now he doesn't have your voice, but close to it.
Few mortals do.
Few more. That's right.
Just kidding. Maybe I need the humble pie.
Yeah. So Starjump runs the Hanger Link and the Starjump Fleet Viewer, and I had him on for episode 28. I'm not going to waste my time and say, go see his content. You've already seen it. You can't be a Star Citizen fan and not know, the content that they produce. But man, that's humbling. And I will say this is a really good start to the rest of the show, is like the whole positivity. And me and Con have talked about this on episode 1. There's kind of 2 schools of thought here. You can hate on it and still create content for it, which makes no sense to me. Or you can accept it for what it is and watch and be a student in the craft of creating a video game and see the positive light in it. But I think what Starjump is also referencing is the ability to positively impact the community. And the community is something very special in Star Citizen, which is why I'm basing most of my shows off of community. I mean, we've got amazing characters, amazing leaders, that just permeate throughout everything. You can go onto social media and you'll see the little buzzkills, right? But for the most part, you're going to see some very awesome content creators that are still producing content even after 3.18. That was a huge stab in everyone's back. People are still recovering from 3.18. So Starjump, thank you so much. But kind of coming back to like the Star Citizen, I guess, community and socials, what's the temperament that you've seen? Again, you took a hiatus a little bit, you came back. Is the community generally more positive? Are they less positive than you remember it being?
I would say going into when I first started playing, it was the same because things worked, right? Like you could jump in the game, you could play with your friends.
That's a low bar.
Well, but there's a piece to this I'm going to get at that is, I think, a big reason why I would say there's a net positive change now. Going into the game, like, what was it? The bad time was 3.18, right? Like the dark times. Oh, yeah. The dark ages of
when I decided to start. Yeah, awesome.
Exactly. So 3.17 was the very end of, the old era. Yeah. And I say the old era as, again, an extreme casual to the game. So correct me on all the logistics. But
you're good.
The old era being the persistent entity streaming didn't exist. And so I mentioned this to you in our private messages, but
yeah,
because I was reminiscing, and when I started, if I 30K'd while mining or bounty hunting or anything, like that was it. I wasted that time. You know, especially back the way I used to do it, which was get the Cuddy Black, go to the landing station or some place on a planet, load up the rock onto the Cuddy Black. You had to really wedge that thing in there perfectly. Go fly around, you know, looking for mining nodes or rocks or whatever they're called, and land and pull it out. And this loop would take you 2 hours for maybe 200K. But I enjoyed it, you know, like it's not efficient as far as money's concerned. But then that 30K would happen.
Yeah.
And all of that loot, all of that progress just gone. And there are times, you know, that would happen to you. And you'd just be like, yeah, I don't want to play for the next day and a half or something. Yeah. Just because it's like, you want games to respect your time.
Yes.
And the games that do that exceptionally well are the games that, especially as an adult, you're gonna sink more time into.
Yeah.
And so that was the old era, and then 318 came and made things worse. And then I think 319 was like a slight continuation of that. When did the persistent entity streaming? When did that come in,
that was 318. And then 319 was like a crutch, right? It was like a crutch that was like, let's just get across the finish line.
So let me rephrase that. When did they fix it?
Well, like 320. It was like 320. Yeah, when it was good to go.
Yeah, and that was about halfway through Beyond the Verse's life so far. Your first year. Okay, so yeah, that's for me. That's the era shift. Is that old era to now this to now. You know, looking ahead, or rather ahead from that moment, you know, to today, when we log in for your org night, I think I've joined at least half of them.
Yeah.
And there's only been like 2 or 3 30Ks that entire time. And sometimes it doesn't even take all the people. Like we had a 30K last org night, and I was fine. I was stuck in Jump Town Bunker by myself, but that's neither here nor there.
It's not scary, you know?
Yeah, not scary at all. You've seen how I play these games. I come like ready to take out an army. So
it's good when 14 of your buddies just go away and you're like, I
hope nobody shows up here. I'm stranded.
I had a squadron.
So anyway, looking back, you know, that's what I see. And I see a community and community being the greater Star Citizen player base.
Yeah.
That was particularly salty and I would say toxic about the state of the game. And you've touched on it in episodes of, you know, a few times. Like it was kind of deserved. Yeah. Obviously, never like from a completely deranged lunatic perspective of, you know, death threats and that type of stuff. But like just the strong criticisms and maybe some of the angry criticisms from people who have spent real money on it.
Yeah.
You know, not that they earned it, but like it was understandable.
Yeah.
And so now you look at it and again, like org nights, I show up, I'm able to play the whole time. I could continue playing. I don't get kicked. The whole group of 15 plus people are there able to group up. You see everybody's name. I mean, occasionally you get those bugs where 1 or 2 people's nameplates don't show up, but overall, this is a much more functioning game than it was at the start of Beyond the Verse. So, to your credit, you really, I mean, you built this thing, this podcast, at probably the hardest time to do so. And that's impressive in its own right, but to maybe not get your ego too high, you know, you do have a lot of great community folks that have helped you along the way. So
100%. Yeah. No, I don't know. It's a blessing and a curse. There were nights, like probably once every 10 episodes, there were nights that I'd sit down with the wife and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like there's no one's happy in this game. Like no one's happy. The first few members that joined Sole Provision, like didn't ever play. I'm gonna name them. You know them. I'm not gonna name them. But they joined.
I mean, I was one of them. Like I was there.
Yeah.
I played a little bit, but like I was here and I was just like, sorry, Solus. Like
100%.
There's other games coming out, you know. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and again, like you said, deservedly. I think no one from CIG would sit there and be like, my feelings are hurt. How dare you? How dare you get mad at our project?
I bet you they didn't want to play it at times too, because they're like, oh, this labor of little lowercase love.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's been fun to listen to like Jared Huckabee on like Inside Star Citizen Live. He even says 318 was like the dark times, the dark past.
The dark ages of that game.
Hey, quickly, while we're on this, a little bit of education if you're like a first-time listener, if you're a recent listener to Beyond the Verse, just quickly, what Conniff was mentioning are the 4 pillars of technology, and we're going to get into it because there are some other questions asked by the community that I just want to go ahead and get like the short Reader's Digest version out on the pillars. So quickly, OCS, the Object Container Streaming. I'm doing all this from memory, so somebody hold me accountable.
Well, it's not going to be me. So,
Conniff, tell me if I'm wrong. It'll be in the comments section, like, "Hey, idiot!" Like, OCS, Object Container Streaming. It takes a material item and makes it into a serial number, so it's not taking up memory whenever you log out. So any sort of item, box, ship, your body, it all gets serialized, and so when you log out, it doesn't take up space on the memory. OCS. That was done several patches ago. All right. So next, we have persistent entity streaming, which is what Conniff is mentioning. It's the idea that OCS, the serialization, everything persists on your individual shard, your instance, right? So your server, your instance. So if you die, and this is what you were talking about, like Orgnite a couple of nights ago, half of us would be canceled. We'd log back in like, oh, I'm still in my Eclipse. People were still in their ships. Like that is the persistent entity streaming at work because that shard kept everything active. And so when you log back in, you're there. Awesome. The next piece of tech, I'm going to say 2.5. It's not really considered like a pillar, but replication layer. So the replication layer is happening right now as we're speaking. It's being tested in the Avocati. But the replication layer is this idea that when the shard goes down, like if the server crashes, the replication layer that's happening simultaneously is going to keep everything running until that shard gets back online. So it's this idea, the 30Ks will never happen again. Right? That'll never be a thing, won't ever drop. You might pause, right? And I think the latest test was like 2 minutes. You're paused for 2 minutes, and then after 2 minutes, all right, everything's back to normal. But that's the replication layer at full capacity, right? It's basically freezing that moment in time for things to catch back up, and then it goes live again. So that's like 2.5. Third pillar, server meshing, that's happening simultaneously right now. It is kind of what it sounds like. It's this idea of being able to hop between shards, right? So let's talk the Pyro server and the Stanton server, 2 separate servers happening at the same time, but they're being meshed. They're coexisting. Even though they're separate, they're coexisting. So a jump between Stanton and Pyro, seamless, simultaneous, good to go. The last pillar is dynamic server meshing. It's this idea of having infinite amount of people on a server. Right? It's basically making everything all in one big happy family, and the shards being individual. Like I am my own shard, so I might be replicated into another shard as I get closer to another person, so nothing ever drops, nothing ever gets lost, and it's across, again, I say infinite number of players. There's probably a number out there that's finite, but there you go. There's the tech. And so one of the first questions that the community asked me deals with the tech, but I think that's some good context getting into the rest of this conversation. I don't know, I just threw up a lot of words together, Conniff.
A lot of word salad, as they say. I think the key takeaway, though, is like a lot of people might look at this and say, MMOs have been doing this, right? Like, yes. Servers or currently, if you play World of Warcraft or Elder Scrolls Online or Guild Wars 2, you join a server, but like you're really playing with people across all different types of servers. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest difference is the scale at which this is happening too.
Right.
Star Citizen is a huge game. From point to point is massive.
Yes.
And not just that, but then you get into like all the individual things. So persistent entity streaming isn't just your player. Yeah. It's also these items that you put on your ship. So Shoe Swapper, which is one of our friends, but he's the one that got me into the game. He was showing me once on his, what's the creepy alien salvaging ship? Reclaimer?
Yes.
Yeah, word.
That was Reclaimer.
Reclaimer.
Yeah.
he had all this like food on the galley in his ship, and he's like, yeah, I just put that there like a week ago and it's still here. And that is where it blows my mind, because I don't think I've seen that in a multiplayer game. If you drop items in a multiplayer game, those items will eventually despawn for sure. I can't think of a single game where that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And unless those items are like tied to you, bound to you, right? So where like you drop it but nobody else is going to see it, maybe those items will stay. Well, that's not the case here. Like, you're talking, anyone could have gone into Shoe Swapper's Reclaimer and seen his entire cabinetry of whatever Pulse, what's the Surge, what's the drink you guys all like?
Cruise.
Cruise. And all of them are still there for anybody that goes in. And that, I think, is a key difference here.
Yeah. Well, and every, you said point to point is very long, right? But the space in between the points is habitable. So if you go from like ArcCorp to Microtech and you stop your quantum drive or quantum travel halfway through, you can exist in that space, and you are literally in an infinite amount of space. Like, and that's crazy. So you start introducing ships, and we'll get on to the questions. I feel like me and you are going to talk forever. This is going to be a 5-hour podcast.
May as well be 50 hours for 50 episodes. I can call in. No, I can't. We've got some fires tomorrow at work. So sorry.
Yeah, I just died inside when you said 50 hours. I'm like, no, I love you to death, but no. But like the Odyssey, right? So everybody's talking about this Odyssey. It's like Carrot 2.0. But the Odyssey, you can basically refine your own fuel and be out in space forever. You never have to like leave the Odyssey. That right there is like, that's the sexy part about what we're talking about. You can literally stop your quantum travel in the middle of a quantum leap and just exist. You and an org of 20, 25 people can just exist in your Odyssey, and no one's going to find you. No one's going to like stop at the infinite, second that you did, which also caused a problem during the Idris event, because that's how they were escaping everybody during the Idris event. But I digress. But yeah, that's the excellence of the tech at work. And actually, let's get into some of these questions. At the end of episode 49 and really throughout socials this past week, I wanted to make this episode kind of more about like you and what you wanted to talk about. And this is the community. Because again, I wanted to celebrate and answer questions, and me and Conniff kind of go back and forth on some of these topics. So we're going to first go to the Spotify Q&A. And this first one is from Dakota Riley. Quote, what has been your favorite moment in this first year of doing Beyond the Verse? And do you have any goals that you want to achieve in year 2? That sounds like a very Amazon question. What are your goals?
It's a question that you have to answer because you're the one in charge. So I guess speaking on behalf of the listener, because like many of you, I am just a listener. I might be here, but ultimately, like, Solus is running the show, and my experience with Beyond the Verse is as a community member. And I can easily say the Org Nights are my favorite moments, and I'm sure many of your favorite moments as well.
Yeah.
And it's because that's what this game was always about. That's why Solus fell in love with this game to begin with.
Yes.
Is those moments. Whether it's Arena Commander and we're all fighting for that last knife kill to win gun game or gunfight or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Or if it was what we did a few weeks ago where we just went to jump point in the Org 890 jump.
Yeah.
And, those are the moments that this game is really built for. So that's my...
Yeah, 100% agreed. So I relate them both as the same. So the Beyond the Verse podcast and the Soul Provision organization, they are the same thing to me. One doesn't really exist without the other. And it's the community that we have built. And I say we, not as a billboard or some weird sentimental drama like, oh, hey, he recognized us. It literally is a joint effort. I didn't create it on my own, right? Word of mouth, people listen to the podcast, they wanted to be part of something that was big and growing. We went from, and Conniff can attest because he's been there from day one, we went from like 5 org members to a month ago, hitting over 100 in Discord.
Yeah.
I mean, just crazy growth, but that community, it is live and it is thriving. You can go onto that Discord and every channel is popping, from our bourbon conversations to a channel dedicated on mining, exploration, role playing. Like, the community is alive, regardless of how annoyed people are at some of the aspects of the game. We'll talk about it here on Beyond the Verse, but there's a place for us to go to and just, I'm gonna say, shoot the shit. It's a very awesome community, and it's because of you, the listener, and those of you in Supervision. So I'm in full agreement with Conniff. Let's do question number 2 from a Kel, Kell.
Well, Dakota did ask you, do you have a goal you want to achieve?
Damn it.
In year 2? I'm not. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. I got you, Dakota.
Yeah, the Amazon answer. When I set OP2 goals for Beyond the Verse, I'm kidding. You know what's funny? I set out a year ago just for the love of creating content, right? The passion of making a podcast. I didn't have a single goal in mind. If I had 10 listeners, I would be happy. Well, we're close to hitting 18,000 listens on podcast, and that number is, within a year, outstanding to me. It's hard for me to put this second year goal. I mean, it'd be easy for me to say, well, let's double everything. Let's do the same growth we did last year, to this year. I don't know if that fits my brand. I don't think it's the number of people tuning in or the amount of impressions. I communicate that because I celebrate the community and what you've accomplished. But for me, I think the goal is the goals are in game. I want Soul Provision to fill an entire, Idris or 890 jump or something more realistic and fly into Pyro together for the first time. Hey, Org, we're going to get into Pyro for the first time together. Let's jump in. The Elegance of the Void, the name of the 890 jump, and let's go. Yeah. I think those are my goals, is the end game, the memories that will last. It's not so much about the numbers. I would love to have more CIG developers on. But even then, there's Inside Star Citizen and Star Citizen Live, where we get plenty of dev feedback and conversations. So I'm going to go back to my original answer. I want us to be a part of base building 4.0 when Squadron 42 comes out. I want us to be thriving in that as a community. So I think that's my long-winded answer to a very, very challenging question. Does that make sense? I don't know.
It makes sense, and I would agree. Again, I'm just this I don't know, adjunct, whatever. And so I can't speak to your goals, right? Sure. But I can definitely feel energized by the focus being the community leading the way, and that's really what you've kind of said, is you want the community to be able to engage in base building, all of us to, because you can't just base build by yourself, and that's not what you would want to.
No.
So
because that'd be Starfield.
It would be Starfield, wouldn't it? And you know what? More power to Starfield.
Yeah, let's give them some love. Yay, Starfield. All right, moving on. That's about as much as they're going to get from me. All right, the next question. Kel, how did you first hear about Star Citizen? Was it? I need to read the rest. Was it through Chris Roberts' original games or ? Also, love how far you've come in your podcasting journey. Love it. So let's go backwards. Yes, we've come
one
back in the day. How far I've come in my podcasting journey. Hey, thanks for recognizing that. There has been a lot of maturity. I've been podcasting for, I think, 7 years now, but this 50 episode by myself, and I say that structure wise, creating it by myself, I've matured a lot in my standard work, my procedures, what I focus on, how I talk about things. So I'm glad that is recognized. That's one of my internal goals. So So I'm glad you noticed that. So thanks so much, Kel. As far as how I first heard about this, go back to episode 1. Phenomenal conversation between me and Kana. If you're looking at him, you're listening to him. It's his fault.
It is.
Maybe a Reader's Digest version, maybe a short little recap. We were in between games. New World flopped. It was a really bad launch. And so the Lore Seekers, the team I was a part of before, kind of went, a different direction with a Star Wars kind of RP theme. And I, just trying to find another game to land on. And Conniff posted a single photo. There's just one single photo that he posted in our kind of social Discord at that time. And I asked the very stupid question, "Hey Conniff, what game is that?"
What is that? And you want to know what that photo probably was, listener, because he won't tell you this. But I guarantee you it was a Drake Cutlass Black flying outside of a space station somewhere.
I mean...
So let that just sink in for a moment. And that's more for the community members that know. Well, I don't know. Are you very against Drake all over your podcast?
No. Well, yes and no.
Well, hold on. Maybe a little. So that's what that photo was. I think. I don't remember. But
I actually don't remember either. I would not be able to tell you which photo it was, but that would not surprise me because I knew like the Cutlass was your thing.
Well, and it looks slightly like the Razor Crest from behind.
Yes.
And Mandalorian was big back whenever that was.
Yeah, that's fair.
It still is, but
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair. Just quickly to address the hate on Drake.
the Drake in the room. Yeah. Is it in the room with us? Yes, so let's now address it.
It's funny. I have a pin here from Star Citizen of a Drake Cutlass. I don't know if you can see that. So.
I do. And do you have a 890 jump pin?
Nope. Stop it.
I went to look at the camera like Jim does in the office, and I just looked the wrong direction. So
nice.
Whatever.
Oh, who invited you on this podcast? So Drake. So here's the deal, right? Here's the deal. When I think space, I think like futuristic. It's 2954. This is 930 years in the future. So 930 years in the future, I'm thinking like Origin. There's some like LED lights. I mean, come on. Like most Honda Civics nowadays have like LED lighting inside the interior. So like I've got this like idea of future is luxury is Origin. So all things Origin. So I fell in love. 890 jump, 400i. You love the 400i too. So don't talk shit, Conniff.
And the only ship I fly is what? An Origin
350?
M50.
M50.
So I'm just the pot calling the kettle black in this situation, but I do have a Cutlass Black, and that's one of my faves. So
yeah. So I mean, long story short, either other vendors or manufacturers that I prefer. However, I drive a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon in real life, which is basically a Drake, like taking it apart and holding it together with duct tape. So I don't know. Take that information with what you will. But yes, this is also the same guy who flies an M50 to Jumptown.
Mm-hmm.
What
Absolutely,
are you doing? What are you doing at Jumptown with a 350 or with an M50?
I don't know. I get there fast. If I
do?
need to leave, I can leave fast. I
It
have
is so
problems,
funny.
I guess. To answer Kel's question for myself, so I got Solus into the game. I am responsible for his Supreme Space Commander tier or whatever.
There you go. I'm not even going to say it.
Yeah. But we mentioned him. Shoe Swapper is the one that got me into the game, and it was a similar experience because I showed you saw that photo and then you started messaging me about the game.
Yeah.
And I believe I then showed you Dig That's video that was a very good comprehensive look at what is Star Citizen.
Yes.
Well, there's one day I was at work, and this is obviously during COVID when everybody's working from home, and so he's in Discord, Shoe Swapper is, and he is like, "Hey, do you want to see Star Citizen?" I'm like, "No idea what that is." Sure. And I watched him stream and basically go from Hab in New Babbage. That's the Microtech place, right?
It is.
Hab and New Babbage, and if you've played this game, you know what I'm about to say. all the way to the terminal, the rail car, the tram, all the way to the spaceport, get in his ship, go fly, pick up a rock, and then go out on Microtech and look for mining rocks. And it being one continuous thing, 0 load screens, was mind-blowing to me. And so I was like, I need to try this game out. And the rest is history.
And here we are, March 13th.
And here we are.
2024. However many thousands of dollars that were into the game. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I don't know. I think there's a lot to go into with what you just said as far as like the tech there, and no load screens and all that other sexy conversations. If you haven't already, go to Star Citizen's YouTube channel and watch the video called. Watch this. Stand by. I'm pulling it up now. It's called
copyright.
Thanks, man.
It was 3 notes. We're good.
The Future of Gaming Star Engine. The Future of Gaming Star Engine on Star Citizen's channel. It's what they showed at CitizenCon. It's what Dr. Disrespect watched and reacted to. Osmongold watched and reacted to. The whole thing. It's like 15 minutes of the entire future of the game without a single load screen. So do that with what you will.
Do you ever watch those and you're in your mind, you're like, there has to be loading, right? Like there's always been loading in every game I've ever played. So how are they hiding it? Like we think elevators, like in a normal game, you go into an elevator, 30 seconds later you're in a different place. And you're like, loading. Yeah. But the problem with that in Star Citizen is you'll be at your docking station, right? Yeah. I will be in the space station buying a double-decker hot dog because I have problems. You'll see my nameplate move. And walk past the ship terminals because I don't fly. Go to wherever you're docked, and you'll see my nameplate zip across the area, and that is the elevator traveling like the TARDIS through space, because that's how that works. Yeah. But it's all real time, so it's fascinating to me that they're not really loading anything. Like you're going from your hangar to the spaceport or that the monorail. Yeah, it's all live.
Yeah, it's the same argument about like quantum travel. When you go from ArcCorp to Microtech, that time that you're quantum traveling is a quote unquote load screen. No, it's not. I can get up from my ship. I can walk throughout my entire ship. I can move inventory around. I can have an entire game loop for this 60 million kilometers or whatever it is that it takes. So it's not a load screen. I'm still able to play. Yeah. So that's crazy. I don't know. It is.
And we did it in the 890 jump for that org night. Specifically, it was jump point to jump point. Yeah. But people were getting crazy on the, knife and stab. Yeah, Groza was stabbing people in the neck. And that's all while the ship is moving at light speed across the game world. So
that's right. Yep, and everybody wants to talk about the Idris event and how bad it was, but what we're talking about was emulated right there in the Idris event. You'd be chasing after an org that's inside of the Idris, and you see them physically going from quantum travel to quantum travel. And if you just take a second to think about what that actually means, what Conniff is mentioning, it's pretty powerful. Let's go to the third question. We're 45 minutes into this, so we're only on the third question.
We've got time. Only
nothing but time.
49 hours left. Let's go.
Oh man. Okay. All right. Here we go. Day night. So this is the tech question that sparked like the first 45 minutes of this podcast. So day night 9. Quote, CIG has made or is making a lot of proprietary tech, getting Star Citizen to where it is and where it's going. Do you think CIG will or should lease this tech after completion to other companies for use? Let me have you answer that first, Conniff, because I have some insider information that will kind of seal this shut. But what do you think?
And I have outsider information.
There you go.
And that outsider information is my own thoughts. So one thing, I guess I would have to ask a question, and that question is, do we see that happening in the video game industry? So to use the real world as an example, my company uses AWS, right? So AWS is this tech for cloud. I really don't know what it is. It just seems really powerful, and it's used everywhere. You might be able to answer that, but AWS is used by probably most of the Fortune 500 companies out there. And this is something that Amazon produced or developed and has rolled out and, leased, if to use Day Knight's word, to all these other companies. But I don't know that I've ever seen that happen in the game world as much as like a game comes out using certain technology. Take Halo 2. Halo 2 comes out, pioneers console matchmaking, and then every other game, like, that was the beginning for that. And now console matchmaking is, for consoles, is just a second thought, it just is.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, also in the real world, you have Weta Workshop that worked on Lord of the Rings and several other big name films. And they've become kind of a premier props and miniatures and bigatures, which is the actual term, developer, producer for movies. Blade Runner, they produced for Rings of Power, the first 2021 Dune. I don't know about Dune Part 2.
Sure.
And then Andy Serkis worked on mocap for The Lord of the Rings, and that completely pioneered mocap now. And now video games are using mocap. So I don't know if if CIG should, or rather, I don't know if they will, but I think that you're going to see companies use that tech or develop their own iteration of it, because as companies want to build these bigger and bigger games, think like something like Blizzard or Microsoft now, if they want to build a game that's the next World of Warcraft, like, you're not going to be able to build it in the old server realm that we used to use, like that, and Meta, so Facebook, they had the metaverse or whatever they call their whole thing.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at here is tech that will eventually, I think, usher in a metaverse, virtual reality universe type video game situation. So
sure,
that's my very, very uneducated answer. Why don't we get an actual answer?
No, that's very educated.
It's just sort of like a logical look at it. Like, I think they should.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like, because I don't know that we've seen it like this before, as far as I can recall.
Yeah, and I agree with your sentiment 100%. And this is before the insider information, but yes, I think they should. I think they should, because here's what's going to happen. To the gaming industry, it's going to happen the same way it's happened to you and me as the gamer. There are other games that are going to launch and fall flat just because it's not Star Citizen. Like, imagine Harry Potter, Star Wars, Star Trek, these massive IPs, Lord of the Rings, these massive IPs. What you mean I can't just exist in that world? They're going to there's a gamer base that's going to be very upset that they can't live in Hogwarts Castle and have their own room and decorate their own room and like live, with other people, 400 people, regardless of server, right? There's going to be a lot of people that want that tech. And I think the gaming industry will never be the same. And I'm not trying to talk in superfluous verbiage. I'm not trying to be that guy. But once this game launches and they prove the concept, I don't know how games go back. Like the Halo 2 matchmaking that you referenced. I think that's a great reference. So there's that. Now here's the insider piece. So at CitizenCon 2953 at the VIP after party, my brother actually has more specific answers, because he's the one that had the conversation with the developer. And I'm not going to say which developer's name. It's not my story to tell, and I don't want to misquote. But the short answer is no, they're not going to lease it out. There's so much nuance. There's so much that they built for the sole uniqueness of Star Citizen that it wouldn't translate. It can't translate in another game. Like the serialization, we talked about OCS, PES, like all of that is dependent on this core like Star Citizen universe. and anything that's not Star Citizen universe, it's not going to be able to translate. So the answer is yes. Yes, they should, but no, they won't for this time being.
Yeah, it's like if you were to build a car that could only be driven by an elephant. Right? As ridiculous as that sounds.
Where are you going with this?
Well, listen, like if a car that is built for an elephant, like a human can't drive that.
Sure.
And so if you see that and you're like, well, I want to drive a car, and the elephant's like, well, here you go, you can't drive that car because it's built so specifically to that elephant and that specific context and usage that it's just not possible. Much in the I told you this makes sense. You just got to follow along with it.
I'm here. I'm here for it. Let's go.
Much in the same way, based on what you're saying, CIG is developing something that's so specific to their use case that to lease it out may not be possible. Now, I think still that you're going to see the tech be replicated. And,
I agree.
And more companies are going to build it. And maybe CIG finds a way to lease out like a part of it, like a proprietary part of it, that they can put their stamp on, like, yep, we pioneered this.
I agree.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But as far as the way we're going to see it used, the elephant, it's going to be impossible for the mouse or the human or whatever to then use that same tech because it just doesn't fit outside of Star Citizen.
I love everything about this analogy.
I make wild analogies all the time.
But it makes sense. Dude, it makes sense.
This might not be the last one for this episode.
Let's go. Let's get crazier as the night progresses.
I'm not even drinking, so,
well, it might make more sense. I'm on my third glass, so it might make more sense here in, I don't know, fourth or fifth glass.
Well, so. By the 42nd hour of this episode, he'll be asleep. I'll still be here, so I'll just read something. I've got plenty of books. Well, anyway, we're getting way off topic.
Having nightmares about elephants driving. All right, here we go. Question 4 from Nick. Do you have something you want to see in-game or be worked on sooner or later beside the stuff that is announced for 323? So let me just read this one more time. Do you have something you want to see in-game or be worked on sooner? Yeah, I mean, I'll just go quickly. I want to see base building. It's not coming in 323, but for me and sole provision, game over. Once there's base building and we can exist on some random moon. I mean, guys, can you all right, you're going to get me role playing here in a second. Can you imagine having like I think it's like 8 kilometer by 8 kilometer is the largest plot of land, I think. It comes with the Pioneer. Anyways, you have your plot of land and you've got an 890 jump set up with a Kraken, with a Banu Merchantman, and you're running like what you would see in The Mandalorian or some Star Wars IP. Like, you're living and existing in your own created space, surrounded by a community that you have built together. Base building for me is it. Like, that is, I don't care about pyro or having 10,000 freaking systems. Give me base building. Done.
I mean, it's org campuses is what you're looking at in this situation. You're getting these whole compounds of buildings, and each person's got an individual existence there, and I think that's fascinating because I don't think any MMOs have done that at the same level.
No.
Guild Wars 2 does have like a bit of a, like, they have guild halls. But like all the other ones that I'm thinking of, they don't really have the same concept, especially not in which you can just see a plot of land and be like, you know what? I like that mountain on Microtech. I want to build on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And then every single person in your org can do that. And then because of persistent entity streaming, it's going to be there. And then when you're sleeping, someone in Australia in the org is like, yeah, I'm going to go work on this at the same time. Like, it's all live. So That's fascinating. My short answer for this is, because I didn't put anything in the notes, but I would like to see alien life forms.
Yeah.
I don't know when that's coming. I don't know if it's coming. Whatever. But what really kind of triggers that is those missions where you go fly to a random wrecked ship somewhere, and maybe it's a caterpillar.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to find a specific thing or loot or something, and then, whatever. It would be wild to get to that caterpillar on the dark side of this planet, and every single person who's played Star Citizen knows that when you land and it's dead silent, and you just hear the world and your character breathing and stuff, like,
yeah,
it's eerie.
It's horrific.
And then to all of a sudden hear, like, the sound of some beast that's hiding away in this caterpillar, that would be so fun to experience, I think.
Yeah.
Especially if it's random, like you don't know if you're going to get that, because right now you can get pirates, I think, in some of these.
Yeah.
But I would like to see some wild Deathclaw sort of beast that just roams around, or was maybe being transported for some crazy guy in Pyro, and crash landed on one of the asteroids of Grimhex.
Yeah.
That was probably not accurate, but whatever.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun, just seeing alien entities roaming around, or just creatures,
Just creatures in general. Yeah, there's been excuse me. There's been some Star Citizen monthly reports and Squadron 482 monthly reports where they talk about bringing in, like, foliage and just life in general, plants, flying animals, quote unquote. I think making the universe feel more inhabited, I think, is a great call out, kind of. I will say, like, CitizenCon did show space whales, right? They showed space whales, so that'll be exciting when that happens. Horrific if I'm flying through the clouds of Crusader and I see a freaking space whale fly across.
Wouldn't be the first time you ran your ship into something at high
Nope. Like, of course,
velocity.
Murphy's Law. Here I am flying into the udders of a space whale.
Space whale. Did you say udders?
I did.
Anyway, let's
space whales don't have udders. But the reason why I said udders is because they also showed, like, cows. They showed, like, alien cows on Microtech, I think. So, like, I think they're working on it. And at the very end of the CitizenCon video, they showed the Vandal coming out of a spaceship. So 100% cannot wait for aliens, other species. But then real quick, responding to your comment about being in, like, a caterpillar or whatever. I do remember one time, I'm talking to my brother on Discord. My brother's not in game, so I know it wasn't him, but I'm on basically a caterpillar. I forgot what it was, but it's a derelict spaceship in the middle of space, right? And I'm trying to find, like, a dossier to, like, report back. And I heard a ship come out of quantum travel, like, right at my spot, and I'm like, and I hear it like in my surround sound, like somebody just arrived. I don't know if it's friendly, foe, like, I don't, but, like, that sinking feeling in my gut. I want more of that. I want more of, like, oh shit, somebody just jumped in on my location. So dude,
and that, it's a whole aside, but, like, there was a PvP debate happening about this game maybe a month or two ago, and you can't turn PvP off, otherwise you lose those type of moments. So, I mean, it has to be always on, I think, in my random tangent opinion.
You don't want to get rid of PvP. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Even though I'm not a big PvPer in games like that, where it's a living world type situation, it's part of the experience.
Yep, wholeheartedly agree. All right, the final question on Spotify's Q&A. We haven't even gotten to the emails yet. There's only like 3 or 4 on the email questions, but the last question on Spotify, this is from Saffron Virtue, a fairly newer member of the Soul Provision org. So blessed to have you. Thank you for joining. Quote, in terms of role play, Conniff, I'm looking at you. In terms of role play, what is the game loop, current or upcoming, you are most excited about, and why?
Well, I put data running in the notes here, But then I got to thinking, and I still agree with that because it's not in the game yet, right? And the Mercury
Correct.
Star Runner exists for that purpose at some point. And the
Correct.
Mercury Star Runner is a wonderful ship.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite ship that I don't own because it gives the Millennium Falcon style vibes.
Yes, it does.
And so I don't know how that's going to look in a game like this, but Cyberpunk 2077, one of my favorite universes.
Yeah.
And the whole net running aesthetic and, all that type of stuff with data. I think it could be really fun in here. But then, as I was thinking about it more, I really just like being a crew member on a ship.
Yeah.
Like when we did the 890 jump org night to the jump towns, the jump points, I was role playing as a security officer for the bridge, and I took it seriously, very seriously. And and we didn't have anything happen, but like I enjoy that loop, and that's going to be fun. But yeah, so data running as far as stuff that's not currently there.
Yeah.
But then isn't there star charting or starfaring or what's the? It's on the 600i maybe. There's like a room for like star charting.
Oh, for
There's so many
exploration.
ships.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, so Carrick, so there are some that do, but the star map room or whatever you're talking about, they also have like the drone operators room in the Carrick as well. So like, exploration needs to kick off very quickly. Because like I think that'd be awesome. Like the Carrick, it's gonna have to kick off before the Endeavor releases, before the Odyssey releases. These are all exploration ships that kind of don't have a purpose really in game. That'd be my brother's answer. My brother wants to see, for those of you listening who might be in Soul Provision, it's D-Rock. So D-Rock wants all things exploration. He wants to see the Carrick and the Odyssey come to fruition, which is 100%. For me, I mean, go figure. My org's called Soul Provision. I want cargo hauling, but I want like the massive cargo hauling, and I want to role play the shit out of that. I want a Hull E, which that's a god awful ship, but I want the whole E capital like transport ship, and I want all turrets manned, all tractor beam turrets manned. I want, the captain's chair, and there's going to be like a food service, and I want to be able to put advertisements on the side of my whole E. I want to be able to, right? Like I want to put Soul Provision's banner or its logo on a couple of the Connaxes or 18-wheeler box. I guess it's 32 SCUs. I want to be able to decorate the outside of my whole C or whole E. Like I don't know.
Well, you're talking about advertising.
Yep.
We went to those jump points.
Yes.
There's advertisements there. What if you could pay a massive amount of UEC to, advertise your org on those? Like, hey, welcome to Stanton. By the way, Soul Provision, provisions for the soul, or whatever the tagline.
You nailed
is.
it.
Like that'd be exciting.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, how is what you are after different than the minor sort of cargo running? Is it just the scale?
It
there
is
is cargo running in the game already.
So it's at scale, and I'll be a little transparent and maybe vocally critical in this moment. But the current delivery, I hate everything about the current delivery. So the one box or maybe even two boxes to deliver from point A to point B, I actually like doing those because it gets you around the Stanton system and it's peaceful. Yeah, it's whatever. Yeah. It's cool, calm, collected nights. And it's fun to do with a buddy, right? My brother and I 2 nights ago went out and did that. But it's so insulting when you go up in the difficulty. It goes from like 2 boxes to 6 boxes, and so you're spending an hour and a half loading your ship with like 6 1 SU boxes, and you're taking it to 6 different locations, and it's just more of the same. It's not complicated. It's not a a challenge in any way. Cargo hauling is like full out operations, like loading the whole sea. You're going to go to an orbital station. You actually have to load onto the wings of the whole sea. You're going to need a security escort because you're going to be delivering to a hostile location. Like the whole distribution center cargo hauling loop is what I'm more referencing. So distribution centers, I want to be able to land and then take a shitload of moles. M-U-L-E, not M-O-L-E. M-U-L-E, the mules. I want to take like a shitload of those for my C2 and deliver boxes into the distribution center, like basically a full out Amazon operation. I want to be able to do that. And right now it's not. It's not.
Gotcha.
It's not that.
Well, and at a sole provision level, you would have an entire crew. You'd have a pilot, a co-pilot, bridge security. You would have an entire group of 4 to 5 org members doing the loading and unloading, plus maybe 2 escort jets or ships, plus ground security for those. And so like you're talking like 15 to 20 people already, and that's just one ship. If your org is several hundred people and you pick a night and now you're doing that with 5 different ships, like,
can you imagine,
all with the same crew like that? That would be sick.
So badass.
And you'd be making so much credits.
Yeah, that's right, to spend on nothing at this current moment.
On more loot.
The jump towns, if you haven't listened to the org nights, the bonus episodes, listen to any of the jump towns. They are fun. It's 16 of us just creatively going at Jumptown, and how we manage it, how we execute it, that translated into cargo hauling. That's what I'm talking about.
And that's kind of like a small scale version of what you're talking about, I guess.
Super, super sexy. Let's keep rolling. Let's pull up the emails, refresh. I'm going to save Groza's for last.
Absolutely.
It's like a lightning round, so I'm gonna save his for last. Let's go to Marauder, another beloved member of Soul Provision. So here we go. Marauder, good morning. Congrats again on the 1-year anniversary of Beyond the Verse. I love being a member of this community. Thanks for everything you do. My question for you: in your year of Star Citizen podcasting, you've had regular interaction with other content creators like Conev and CIG staff. How has your view of the game and community as a whole changed as you've evolved from the player side to the content creation side? Man.
This is entirely for you. I am the least of these as far as content creators go, but I'm just happy to be here. But this is totally for you, and I think it's a great question for Marauder because you went from just being effectively a fan of the game that wanted to create content about it to how many times have you given slightly insider information? Like, that's not just, that's the evolution. So talk us through that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. Damn. Okay. So here we go. Content creators and CIG staff. So from content creators, I've had creators that have created tools like Starjump Grim, Joran, who helped create Bar Citizen, which I'm sure many listeners have experienced. I've had so many phenomenal content creators on, in that standpoint, to streamers like Blasphemous, Authentic Young, Space Tomato. So that in and of itself is its own story. And then, obviously CIG staff, I've had Galactica on, which is CIG social media manager. So my breadth of guests have been amazing, and I've been able to see a wide range of passion and unique and different passions for this project, and it's helped keep me grounded. I think it's very easy for me to go through 318 and get kind of huffy, like I've lost another, hundreds of thousands of UEC on this, lost mission, like you mentioned, Connev, at the beginning with mining.
Yeah.
And then see, some content creators that are more toxic than I've seen Grand Theft Auto content creators. And it's easy to get wrapped up in that and get mad and, never play it again. But I've kept myself around people that have done more than just play the game. And I think that has been the difference maker for me, is I surround myself with people who have positively impacted the community. And so what I've seen, to directly answer this question, how has it evolved from the player side to the content creation side? I have gone from a kid at Christmas of seeing a brand new game with Conif, and remember it was like Invictus launch week, and it was like the super sexy like holiday.
Everything broke.
Yeah, but it
was very sexy. Yes.
Yeah, it was a great time to get lost in a brand new game. So I went from this amazed, kid at Christmas to fast forward to today. I'm a very well versed. I would consider myself a subject matter expert when it comes to the tech and where CIG has come from. But it's because of the people I've surrounded myself with and who I've chosen to listen to. And just having Galactica on, I don't need to shout her out. She's very much accredited on her own accord, but she still to this day is an amazing friend of mine who I saw at the Austin Bar Citizen this past weekend. Gave me a hug, saw each other, big smiles on our faces, hug, asked how everybody was going, asked about family. It's just amazing to see that the passion that people have for creating actual things, not just streaming, but creating actual things for this game, how it translates into their character and who they are in real life. And so I think, I don't know if that's kind of a convoluted answer to the question, but it's gone from, just quick summary, it's gone from a kid at Christmas, loving everything about it, through the emotional turmoil of 318, to where I am today, where I'm just in utter respect and kind of disbelief where a game has been able to grow in just 1 year. In 50 episodes, this game is not the same as it was this time last year.
Do you feel like now more of a steward of that positive interaction than you were? Now, I would argue that everybody that plays a game is responsible for stewarding the positive interactions that you get. And you're always going to have toxicity. I mean, for instance, we did Jumptown, and there's that sorry soul that landed at Jumptown, and he didn't last more than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And we poked fun at him in the general chat. Yeah. And we didn't make fun of him. We were like, soul provision or something.
Yeah.
And that's always going to be a thing. And people will take it even way further in a bad direction. But now that you are at this point, to Marauder's question, from the kid at Christmas to now a successful content creation endeavor, do you feel like more of a ring bearer for this sort of positive, community-driven mentality?
Yeah. I mean, I do, and I feel like so first off, it's who I am as a person. So I think, well, what I'm about to say, I don't want it to get lost. But it's who I am. I'd rather be positive. I've lived a life that has so much negativity in it. If I'm going to game, right, like a kid's game, I'm going to be positive about it. But I do feel obligated. I feel obligated because there's not a lot of loud voices out there that are positive. The loud voices are the ones that bitch, right? They get on and they're, they have thousands and thousands of followers and hundreds of thousands of views on their YouTubes because they hate the game that they create for. And I don't understand it. So I feel like you said, ring bearer, a steward. I'm going to keep going with what I'm doing, being transparent and like vocally, critical about things. Of course, CIG is not perfect. But man, there's a right way of doing it, in my opinion. Right? Like, I don't know. You don't need to like kill the person on the keyboard, or behind the computer in order to get your point across. So I appreciate the questions. It's a good one. I don't see myself as a white knight. I think that term gets thrown around a lot as well. I don't see myself as one. At the same time, it's hard, even after backing the game for as long as I have, it's hard to not understand why it's taking long. I want them to take as long as they want, because at the end of the day, it's over. And if they produce a half-assed project, at the end of the day, it's going to fall flat and it's all for naught. So take your time. We're enjoying it. And if you don't believe us, listen to some of the Orgnites. We are enjoying the shit out of it. So,
Yep.
All right, love it. So Star Jump, all right, here we go. Let's go. We have two more emails. This is Mustang 6. So first off, shout out to Mustang 6 for creating the Soul Provision logo. Check out their stuff. I'll put the links into the show notes. I think I did for last episode. If I didn't, I'll definitely do it for this one. But Mustang 6 is a phenomenal creator. A brand ambassador. He's doing it not only for us, but for also Tree 0311. But a couple of other projects as well. So go check his stuff out. Here we go. This is kind of a long email, but I'm gonna read it regardless. Hey, Solus. We seem to have started this Star Citizen adventure around the same time back in 318. I am so sorry, Mustang.
And he's still here, so
You're still here. Yeah.
thank you, Mustang, for sticking it out.
That's an accolade we need to share with you. I watched this game from afar before I started and made the leap of a starter ship. I was trying to start up a side hustle and needed to dedicate spare non-day job time to making art. Then I saw a stream where a newbie was hanging with friends and getting into, quote, shenanigans aboard an 890 jump. I realized then how fun this game would be with friends. While I fumbled around the verse trying to dodge invisible asteroids, good God, yes, still an issue, and avoid the whatever it was that blew you up right when you left your hangar in those days, I was hooked. I played solo and did a lot of trade grinding, trying to live the life of those high rollers I saw with their massive luxury space yachts. Okay, I feel attacked. I bumped into
Elegance of the Void, perhaps.
Yep. I bumped into other vets in games, and that prompted a search where I caught you and Tree 0311 talking on his podcast Armchair Admirals and Generals. You guys were ripping about the immersion and tactics of the FPS play in the game. You were all speaking my language. So I binged on all the Beyond the Verses to get caught up and then decided to join the Soul Provision org. Your podcast and message go well beyond this game, and with the friends I've made from the BTV podcast and the Soul Provision org, you are walking the walk of inclusion and community. This is something special, and I am proud to be part of it. I really appreciate the time and effort you put into this. Out here, Mustang 6. He has another email with the actual questions.
He mentioned that in the Discord. He was like, I just talked about my thanks for you, and I forgot the question.
Yeah, he did. But I do want to respond to that first one. It's such a well-written email. The sentiment is shared, and I think, Con, if you can agree, most of what he said is it's so shared. Star Citizen is better with friends. 100%. Playing this by yourself is fun. It's basically a screenshot simulation. If you play it by yourself, because that's like really all you're getting out of it. But playing with friends is such an incredible experience. And then last thing I'll say, and I'll turn it over to you, Conniff. The Tree 0311 interview, that's special to me because it was three of us veterans going back to our time in service and relating it to what we would do, how we would use our troop leading procedures to get around a bunker mission, a UGF mission, delivery missions, how we would escort convoys. It's a very, very good conversation, again, against, with us three. But I just wanted to, the veteran thing's important, and I don't want to get philosophical or too deep here, but, and this is not unique to Star Citizen, but gaming is an outlet. It's an escape. It is a break from reality, no matter how dark that reality is. And for veterans, unfortunately, a lot of that reality is PTSD, right? And this, gaming in general, has helped me through my coping with everything that I've been through. But Star Citizen takes it to another level. And this is not white knighting. This is not biased. This is I can't be any more serious when I say this. Star Citizen is different. It is escapism to its ultimate degree, to the pure definition of escapism. Being able to just I want to say the Mercury for an example, being able to log into a Mercury and you're in a planet that you logged out of a couple hours ago or maybe a day before, and you just exist on that planet. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. You're literally existing. And if you want to interact with people, you can. If you don't, stop your quantum travel between two planets and you're not going to see anybody ever. But you're still there and you're escaped. So I just wanted to take a second and recognize Mustang's comment about the veteran piece. I know there's other walks of life that also experience this as well. But Star Citizen is more than just a game when you look at it through the lens of people needing a break from life. And I think I'll stop there. Conniff, any reactions to that first email?
I agree with what Mustang is saying with it's like if you have as a kid, here's another analogy. You have a sandbox. You can have fun playing in that sandbox, but you're always going to have more fun playing in that sandbox if your best friends are playing in it with you as well. Who knows what you're doing? Maybe you're pretending to be dinosaurs walking around sand dunes digging for treasure. I don't know. But that's the thing about sandboxes is, you are the master of your experience. And so when you have friends, man, I had to pause there because I feel like if you're listening to this and you don't have friends, well, first of all, join Soul Provision and
100%.
Beyond the Verse Discord, and then you will. But it does sound like you need friends to have. What I'm saying is that you need friends to have fun in Star Citizen, and that's not the case, as we've said. Like, there are fun loops that you can do solo. Like I mentioned, the mining loop. Yeah, like that was fun. It wasn't when it didn't work, but now that they fixed that type of issue and whatever else. Like, if I don't want to talk to people. And everybody that plays games has those moments where you don't want, you're just trying to just be alone in your head for a bit. Star Citizen has things you can do. Yeah. But where that creativity and where the excitement really starts to blossom in this game is when you introduce friends. And as Mustang was saying, like those videos where you watch those newbies, like they've never played Star Citizen before, and all of a sudden they're rating an 890 jump. Like, that's inspiring because you're like, well, I just want to do stuff like that. Like, not have to worry about grinding a specific skill. I've got to level up fishing, which I love fishing in MMOs, but like, you just pick a gun. Go buy a gun at a place, whatever that store is at Area 18 right outside the Habs. Yeah. Get in your ship, go accept a mission, meet up with your friends, and just go do it. Yeah. And you can create your own fun, and that's what, again, not to just continually mention the Org Nights, but that's where the spirit of those are. Yeah. So.
It's an entirely different game on Org Nights, and this is not a podcast to like promote Soul Provision. Like that's no. I don't want to come across that way. Any org, Jump Town with 15 people is an entirely different game. It's an entirely different game. I mean, the last Jump Town having remember we got swarmed by 2 or 3 enemy, or strangers, and just seeing all of the quick reaction force and the secondary and tertiary efforts just rise up and then go into this aerial combat, and after they're done, we're like, oh, okay, is everything fine? And then we went back down and all right, continue mission, let's
and meanwhile, those of us in the Jump Down bunker were just still moving boxes. I hope you guys got it up there because we sure don't. And it was like a moment from the Two Towers when Aragorn's like, Legolas, bring him down, and the Uruk-hai's running with the torch to blow up Helm's Deep.
That's right.
As Groza was shooting bombs that are dropping from this A2. That was incredible.
So good.
And, it's those moments you can't. Everybody is looking for those experiences, especially when it comes to games, because video games have always existed as a way to check out from your real world. And originally I think there was a lot of hate towards that because kids that wanted to play video games all the time. Parents back in the day would be like, oh, you're just wasting your time, all this. And nowadays, fast forward 30 years, we are so well connected across, like you and I've never met in person. Many of the people I game with, I've never met in person.
Yeah.
But I don't have to. A wise man once said, and the unwise man, me, is going to butcher this delivery, but it's something along the lines of, you not stop becoming friends, but you stop being friends when you stop making memories together. And you're able to make these memories day in and day out. I mean, currently it's every Thursday at org night. Maybe, listener, your org night is on Sunday night. So every Sunday night, you're making those memories with those people. And ultimately, that's why this game is successful. And that's why MMOs, as historically, a genre, have always been successful, because their goal is to give you an opportunity to engage with other people that you normally wouldn't get to engage with.
Yeah.
And do something. So
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's highlighted in like the Bar Citizens. First off, if you haven't ever been to one, I encourage any listener, viewer to go to their closest Bar Citizen. It's an amazing experience. And go and talk to people. Don't just be there and exist. Talk to people.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird to see people there that never say a word, and then an hour later they leave. But talk and like enjoy, because those moments that Conf is mentioning, man, that is like the ultimate bar conversation. Remember that one time we were in Jumptown and Groza's falling down a hillside, and we end up doing like a Cuddy Red to like pick his ass up off the side of the mountain. Not even Jumptown related, but at Jumptown, like what the hell? Like, these are the stories that make great drinking stories. And so a Bar Citizen is a phenomenal, location to go do that. But it's just, and don't even get me started about actual Citizen Con. Like, going to last year's Citizen Con in LA, there are people, I've never met before, came up to me because of the podcast or because of Soul Provision, shook my hand. It was that in and of itself is a blessing. But going through those stories and that community and culture, like, that's what this game is bringing. And again, I haven't felt it in any other game. So let's move on to Mustang 6's specific questions. Here we go. In the past year of Beyond the Verse and running the Soul Provision org, what stands out for you as the most unanticipated occurrence? In the past year of Beyond the Verse and running the Soul Provision org, what stands out for you as the most unanticipated occurrence? So, wow, there's so many of them. Again, when you set out on a humble endeavor to just play with friends, anything is unanticipated. The fact that we're at 100 members is unanticipated.
That was what I was going to say for you, is perhaps the state of the Soul Provision org as it is at this moment is an unanticipated thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you set out to create a podcast, and you had created this org, before that podcast launched.
That's right.
But
yeah.
Could you say that you anticipated to be at this point? Maybe not like in a year, but ever? Like, it wasn't your goal, so it was like something that you're like, yeah, here we are.
Full transparency. I created Soul Provision. You and I were the first two members. I created Soul Provision to basically have enough people to run a ship.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, 8 people, 10 people. Hey, it'd be really fun to operate a whole C or a whole E. It'd be really, that'd be a lot of fun. Fast forward to, we have officers, right? We have subject matter experts. We have content creators that are producing videos. You're producing videos, and I heard you do like a voiceover and like a song for somebody, like just crazy, like in a good way, crazy, growth in Soul Provision. So I think the Beyond the Verse podcast thing, nothing was really unanticipated, and that's not, I'm going to sound cocky. But like, I know because of my work ethic from Amazon, the military, my obsession over quality and production, like I know it's going to be something worthwhile and like worth listening to. I didn't expect it to be 18,000 listens. That was unanticipated, but I knew it was going to be successful, whatever that meant. But the Soul Provision org, that was probably the most unanticipated. It's just the growth of where we're at. Like I said, 2 officers, over 100 members. We have a poll, or like a best in show campaign going on right now, where we're voting on, you know, ships to be put up against each other, kind of like, again, the best in show, but our own version of doing it. We got that running. It's just incredible. Like, it's just incredible from that perspective. And then Mustang asks a second question.
Okay.
Given your amazing prediction hit rate, thank you. Thank you so much for prompting that piece. Given your amazing prediction hit rate, what is your prediction for Chris Roberts making a live streaming TV show or a movie for the Star Citizen verse in the next 3 to 5 years? I love this question. Okay, so I will brag. I will take a couple of seconds. And Con, if you tell me to shut up if it goes too far. I have been right almost at every turn. And that's, some of it's dumb luck, but the other bit of it is because I obsess over the monthly reports and the developer, you know, notes. Well,
okay, I was just saying, you do pay a lot of attention to the details.
I do.
And that's helpful. And really, that's another part of why Beyond the Verse is helpful, is that you do that so I don't have to.
Yeah.
And I thank you for that. But he's asking about a show or a live, the casual in me is like, well, shouldn't he just finish this game first?
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
100%.
That would be my answer, but yeah, what's your prediction, I suppose?
Yeah.
100%.
Well, I was getting there. I want to ride this wave for a couple of seconds.
You told me to not let you do that for very long, so
I'll be fast then. Okay. All right. Pyro to be playable before the end of last year. It was. It wasn't released, but it was playable. It was in the tech preview channel, so it was playable right there.
That has an asterisk next to that.
It does, prediction. Like a Barry Bonds home run record. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's still playable technicality. Squadron 42. It was going to be, you know, this year. There's a lot of indicators saying that it will be, but whatever. We'll put that aside. F8C called that out. 323 called that out, or 322. Sorry, patch 322 called it out. The Idris event. I'm gonna say a half truth there, or half right there. It wasn't Xeno Threat, but it was the Flyable event. I knew we were gonna have the Idris in the verse a couple weeks ago, so I just listen to the show because you might get some really good nuggets to take home with you. But as far as the rest of his question about a TV show, I am 1,000,000% aligned with Conniff, and that was my answer. Is Mustang, I love you, but in this one moment, I hate you for even bringing this up.
Yeah, he's got to tarnish his potential flawless record here by weighing in.
Yeah, let's get 4.0 out first. I don't know, or maybe Squadron 42, or I don't know, server meshing or distribution centers. I don't know, one of the 100 items that are on the list before we talk about a TV show. Personally,
I mean, it could happen. So I think what would be more likely is a TV show would get greenlit if Squadron 42 is a massive success, because that's where you're getting a lot of those characters. Yeah. And there's been some pretty high-profile celebrities like Mark Hamill that are characters in Squadron 42, and so once we see that game, then I could see there being some sort of spin-off, but I don't know.
I could see it being a Netflix special, you know, like a 10 show, you know, season or something like that. I don't even want to, like, don't get Chris sidetracked. Don't do it. I feel like he's like the ADD kid in the room. It's like, squirrel. Keep him focused. Keep him focused.
So is your prediction no then for the 3 to 5 years?
No,
whatever you said.
100%. I don't think it. I don't think it happens in the next 3 years. I think Squadron 40. Okay, here we go. I think Squadron 42 is going to be announced and the theme for this year's CitizenCon. I think it releases in 2025, so next year. I think it actually releases. That'll be a year of like really good work, and they're still working on episodes 2 and episodes 3 as expansions, but those will happen very quickly once this tech is finalized. And then we're going to go to Star Citizen 1.0, like the live Star Citizen. That in and of itself is the next 3 to 5 years. I don't think that there will be enough runway to also produce a TV show, in my personal opinion.
That's fair.
There you go. All of that is just based off of gut feeling. I have no insider information. But let's do this. Let's get into the last... Actually, no, I want to ask you a question. Speaking of kind of like how we see the success of Squadron 42, I am curious of your thoughts on whether or not Squadron 42 should go console. Not to like...
I think...
side
No... I can handle this. I'm a big boy podcaster, allegedly. I think my answer for that is always going to be yes, from the perspective of cast the widest net to get the most people into it.
Yeah.
If this question were to be asked before the current gen, which is PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, I would have said no way, because we're looking at 10-year-old consoles.
Yeah.
But if Star Citizen or Squadron 42, as you're saying, releases in 2025, I think these consoles could handle it. But I think you'll probably see a lot of 30 FPS discussion about the games getting locked on console at 30 FPS.
Yeah.
Whatever. So in general, I think yes, because you do want, if you release a game, I mean, look at it this way. The games that have won Game of the Year in the last 2 years was, Baldur's Gate 3 and Elden Ring. And then before that was It Takes Two. It's been, I guess, maybe sometime before that, it was a PlayStation only game. But the last 3 years have been a game that is available on basically every console. Now, Switch is a little different. But Elden Ring, available for the 2 consoles plus PC.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3 was at launch available for PC and PS5. And then by the end of the year, they, Larian committed to releasing it on Xbox, and they did.
Yeah.
And... you want those experiences, especially if they are big experiences and these big things, to be playable by as many people as possible, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if at the start, when it first launches, if it would be console, but
yeah,
I would love to see it be console at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with you. I think it's the gateway. I'll say it. We're mostly adults on this podcast. It's the gateway drug into Star Citizen. So I think the more people you get that kind of dabble in the PC world, but they're primarily on PlayStation, get them hooked on Squadron 42. Make them ask that question, or make them make that statement. I really wish I could do this with friends. Well, you can. It's called Star Citizen. It's over on PC.
Yes, it's the reverse of what Red Dead 2 and GTA 5 did, right? Didn't they release their single player experience and then the multiplayer experience came?
Yeah. Yep.
And there's a lot of people that look at Star Citizen and they'll say, you know what, I don't want to play that. Like, the money that would go into it, there's a lot of misconception about how much money you need to spend.
Yeah.
I've only ever spent like $170 of real money on ships. I just ride around in people that have spent a lot more their ships.
Yeah, you do.
but that's again, we've already talked about that at length. That's the point, or that is the friendship piece.
Yes.
But there's a lot of people that don't want that, that do want to dip their toes by experiencing, okay, but what is like the lore of Star Citizen?
Yeah.
I almost said Starfield. What is the lore of Star Citizen? Who are the players? Because, and by players I mean like the characters, the NPCs that are the political, players of the realm. That is where there are a lot of players that want that before they ever consider, well, like I need to really let the shower heat up before I jump in and start in, with the multiplayer aspect, because it's going to be a very different experience, I think.
100%. Yeah.
So.
I agree. And just kind of a quick, I guess, a final note transitioning to Groza's email. I don't know how they're going to put the key binding on a controller. Like there's a million freaking key combinations.
But maybe not so much in Squadron 42 though.
That's
right?
fair. Yeah, that's fair. Maybe you don't have to do as much.
Yeah. I mean, if you've ever looked in Star Citizen's key binding menu and you look at the controller settings, because I use a controller to fly.
Really?
Mouse and keyboard for all the FPS stuff.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Which as of now is 90% of it, because I just ride in people's ships again. But the each button is like 4 different tiers deep of different, and it's wild. And I have to have those key bindings up half the time to even understand what I'm doing. But
yeah, I use stick, and I have the same thing. I have like a mapping. I have like a JPEG of like the mapping of my sticks, because I don't remember how to land or.
Where do you put it, Solus, on your single monitor?
I alt tab. That's what I do. That's what I do, Conniff. Jackass. For those of
Not
you
even on your phone.
No,
I thought we talked about this already on the show, or is this new information for our listeners?
This might be new. This might be new for listeners. So, hey, listeners, really quick.
He's got a big confession to make.
I guess.
Your intervention.
I guess.
Let me tell you.
So I work for a Fortune 500 company, Amazon, right? And so you would think that, somebody who goes to work and has 4 monitors and like, this is how I live and breathe. I have 1 monitor for my Excel spreadsheet, 1 for Data Central and all this nonsense. You would think that I would take that like best practice and use it for my content creation / gaming. No, I don't. I have 1 single 27-inch monitor that I do everything off of.
You know what?
Yeah.
More power to you and
Alt Tab Ninja.
That's why we hit the ground with the carrot.
Probably.
No doubt. You're like, where's the button for the lowering the throttle? Because I need it like yesterday.
Yes, it was. Yes. But you wouldn't know nowadays. Like, I don't know. Organites now are pretty.
Yes. Yeah, you've
pretty smooth.
Really, you have learned a lot in the flying realm.
All right, let's end. Let's end with an email from Groza, which I actually appreciate. The non-Star Citizen questions. I think this is an amazing way of ending the show. But Con, if these are questions for you as well, I think I sent these to you.
You did, assuming it's the same 4.
It is. So here we go.
Does wild things, so I wouldn't be surprised if
yes, Groza does
somehow he switched them up.
One of our officers in supervision, which we might want to question keeping him there after these questions. Let's go.
Yep.
I'm having a hard time coming up with Star Citizen focused questions for various reasons. What I'm curious about is this, and I'm going to couch all of these questions not as a quote, what or who is your favorite, end quote, because quote, favorite, end quote, is a silly concept in word. Tracking. All right, number 1. Number 1. Tell me about a scene from Lord of the Rings, the film trilogy, that you could watch once per month and still love, and what about it speaks to you? These are great, like, icebreaker questions.
Yeah, maybe we should have started with these.
Well, I say this for last. Yeah, because it's like, I would say lightning round, but these probably generate quite the conversation. Is there a scene that comes out to you, that speaks to you?
Well, the problem is, so one, I've been as I mentioned, I think right. It's been a very long episode. I've been reading Fellowship of the Ring, and so I was sick in February, just the usual winter to spring flu that everyone gets.
Oh yeah.
And I watched all of the Fellowship of the Ring,
Yeah.
which I've seen it before. I've read the books before, but all Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and then also the 1979 animated Lord of the Rings. And I was reading Fellowship of the Ring at the same time, so I'm very keyed in on this, and we could do another. We still have 48 hours to go. So just Lord of the Rings, I'll just get my book and we'll read it.
Yeah.
The problem is that so much of like Lord of the Rings now has been turned into like memes, and not because it's excellent, but like the movie's been around so long that like there's memes for everything. Like one does not simply walk into Mordor, or Frodo saying, "All right, keep your secrets" to Gandalf, or whatever it is at the beginning of Fellowship.
Yeah.
And so there's no like scene that I would say I always come back to. Certainly not once a month.
Yeah.
But I will say I like the quotes from the movie, like when Pippin at the Prancing Pony is like, "It comes in pints. I'm getting one." And then he goes off and gets it. Like, I'll say that to random things, like if someone gets something.
Nice.
Or when Gimli's like, "Salted pork." You know, like just it's little things like that. Like there's no specific scene. Maybe the Aragorn telling the hobbits that they bow to no one at the end of Return of the King.
Yeah.
That one would probably be the one that I'm like.
That's good.
Or when Pippin sings that song as Faramir and the other Gondorians ride to their deaths.
Yeah, yeah.
And Denethor's eating
that steak or chicken or whatever it is.
I just watched that one today at work, so there's your answer,
killer.
Groza.
That's a killer one. Yeah. Yeah, that song's beautiful. Yeah, I think that gets me every time. For me, there's two answers. Kind of the one, maybe like less emotional one, but in Fellowship of the Rings, man, you're a lot more versed in this than I am, so I'm going to butcher most of the details.
Just recently. It all escaped my memory in about 2 months.
Yeah.
When I finished the book.
So Fellowship of the Rings, when they're all together for the first time trying to decide to go on this mission or not.
The Council of Elrond.
The Count, yes. Okay. Yeah, that whole scene is very powerful for me, because it's like, I don't know, when you have like a military background, like nothing looks good. like you're going to deploy, you're going to serve your country or whatever, quote unquote. Nothing looks good. It looks damned. It looks like it's going to suck for the next year. You kind of in that mindset, but you got buddies that are going to go with you. You're not by yourself. You have your team. And so in that moment, it's like, I read the books before I saw the movies. So like I knew what was going to happen in the next 3 movies or the next 2 movies. And that conversation of like, we're going to go regardless, who's with me, that whole concept was extremely powerful, but not as powerful. And this is where I'm going to rely on you for details. Okay. But in the second movie, when Gandalf says, look towards the east, and on the 3rd day, I'll be there, or whatever that whole synopsis is. Yeah. But like they're in these dire conditions. They're all dying. The walls have been breached. Like they're about to get wiped out completely. And then all of a sudden you see the bright light coming out of the east, and it's Gandalf with like all of the
the Riders of Rohan, yeah.
Riders of Rohan, yeah. So like I think that moment it gets me every time, because it's like they were hugging their last hug. They were kissing their last, kisses.
Yes, and I will add to that, because very powerful, and I for whatever reason, you can go talk to your buddies at Amazon. The movies are now no longer on Prime for some reason, unless I rent them. They were free when I was sick, and now they're not.
Classic.
So I watched The Two Towers the most recently, and as an adult with kids, that's where your mind shifts. Like the last time I really watched these would have been in college or before. Yeah. And it's a powerful scene, but you're just kind of like, whatever. But then when you have kids in real life, can you have fake kids, I guess? Maybe Star Citizen, maybe that'll be a thing. Like your mentality shifts, and the dire nature of what Aragorn is doing, especially the scene before Helm's Deep, when Legolas says in Elvish, all these men are going to die, and Aragorn responds in English, then I shall die as one of them.
Yeah.
Is extremely powerful. Yeah. And then to see the elves come and Haldir or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And you can just tell, like, these people know the odds of surviving this are low.
Yeah.
And yet they still do it.
Yeah.
And so, yes, seeing Gandalf pop up with Éomer and the Riders of Rohan as they then charge down that hill is like, it's like their savior moment, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's insane.
It's incredible.
It's insane, which is really reminiscent in the third movie when Aragorn shows up with the, I'm going to call it the Army of the Dead. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Army of the Dead. I don't know.
Whoever they're called. But yeah, they come and they wipe out, like, you know, the same concept, but that, like, anyways, moving on to number 2. We're never going to get through this.
That's for sure.
Question number 2. Talk about 3 musicians or bands that you have been jamming to or who have really spoken to you lately. Also, bonus question, do you play any instruments? Well, I think that's a shoe-in question for you, Conniff. Do you play any instruments, Conniff?
Yes, I do.
Hey.
Stick around to the end of the episode. I might have a surprise for Solus and you.
Host that.
I play saxophone, guitar, sing, bass. I can play piano, and I could pretend to play drums.
Damn.
I think that's it.
Damn.
I mean, it's once you learn theory.
Yeah.
And piano is very, like, when I say I play piano, I do the triad chords and sing with it, and that's it. And that's enough to entertain kids, and that's all I need.
Yep. Done.
Bass is, you know, my main instrument was guitar and saxophone. Saxophone all growing up, guitar as an adult.
Yeah.
And with guitar, like, you could play bass. You know, maybe bass players out there will feel offended by that, but I can't play bass like you play bass, but I can play bass.
Sure.
And drums is a rhythm thing, but you know, like a basic rock beat, I could do that.
Sure.
As far as musicians I've been jamming to, like, I'm so all over the board. I listened to Icy Fire by Ed Sheeran today.
Okay.
There's this, actually, I'll give you this answer. Because the alternative is K-pop, because that's what my kids like listening to, and that's what gets played in the car.
Yep.
But there's this YouTuber, or really TikToker, named Garth. He is from Ireland, and he just does, like, covers. He's done Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
He just did Cole, which is by some country artist. Very good song.
Sure.
But his voice is incredible. And he just does acoustic and sings. And so that's probably my off the wall answer is Garth or Gareth. I'd have to look it up.
Love it. Yeah, it's awesome.
What about you?
Yeah, I introduced you to Soulprovision as, like, a professional voice actor and musician. So
What's professional? Like, what does that mean?
You've been paid for it at least once.
I have.
So
at least once, yes.
Professional.
That's for sure. At least in the musician front. Voiceover, yeah, I've done that a time or two. But musician, yeah, I've been paid once or twice.
I've seen pictures of you on stage performing. I would say that's pretty damn professional.
I don't know that I ever saw them, but someone in the band.
So someone got paid. Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I don't know if I can name 3. So besides, like, Bluey, you said K-pop, but, like, Bluey, the Wish Disney soundtrack, like,
does Bluey does have music.
They do. That's it.
That's copyright too. Darn it.
Thanks, buddy. No, it's almost every time we go and I drop my kids off at daycare, they want to listen to either, like, the Wish soundtrack and the movie by Disney, or they want to listen to, like, Bluey or these random the Pokemon theme song, right? So, like, I don't know if I can answer this question, like, seriously, but
and you're probably in meetings a lot too, and I'm in the same capacity. Like, I don't listen to music a lot at work. I just don't have the opportunity to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So if I'm, like, in transit, I'm listening, you know, to podcasts more than likely. But I will say this: if you haven't heard of the band called Starset, they call themselves cinematic rock. That's like their genre, and no other band sounds like them. But it's cinematic rock. It like literally sounds like rock music you would hear in Star Citizen. So they throw in almost like an EDM. They throw in like interesting sound effects. They'll throw on like NASA recordings in the background.
Okay.
So it's a very interesting listen. I think it's like intellectually stimulating, but it's also like it's also rock, so it, you know, you can jam out to it. But I'd recommend Starset. It's a phenomenal band I've kind of really been digging, but it's one of those that you get the record. Yes, I just dated myself, but you get the record and you sit down and you listen to the entire record from front to back because it's all seamless. Like one song blends into the next song,
like
and
a
like
concept album.
Yes. So I highly recommend that. And then instruments. So I grew up playing the trumpet.
Ah, yes.
Yep. So I played the trumpet.
You look like a trumpet player, frankly.
How dare you?
I was a saxophone player, so you're like the same coin, different sides as far as band goes.
The saxophone was like the brass instrument of the of the woodwind. So, so I grew up playing the trumpet, played the piano, and I played the drums. So there you go. Number 3. This is really funny. What sort of role would I shine in at Amazon?
I'm assuming he's asking you for himself, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know. So Groza, I'm not gonna like dox Groza or anything, but in their real life, they're related to law. Their career is in the law field, and so whenever I talk to Groza, I would see them shine like in loss prevention, and not loss prevention as in like, hey, you stole the item from the store. Loss prevention is also brand, like brand awareness, brand ambassadorship, the legality behind like brick and mortar execution, etc. So I would probably see him. I'd probably see Groza shine in loss prevention.
Yeah.
If no one else knows what that means, but to answer his question directly, but there you go. There you go.
I cannot answer that question. So
yeah, what do you think? What do you think, Conniff?
I would say brand ambassador. He could be a character in a advertisement run.
I could see that. And last but not least, and we have like 2 minutes to stay within 2 hours, or we could go the whole 50.
Going the whole 50, no.
What is the most hilarious random player-involved interaction that you've had in Star Citizen in the past 12 months? Conniff, I'd like for you to go first on this one. What is the most hilarious random player-involved interaction that you've had in Star Citizen in the past 12 months?
I mean, it'd have to be from the org night because I don't think I played. The previous time I played would have been beyond 12 months. I would actually say the night we did the Arena Commander gunfight plus the tank battle royale or whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah.
So the gunfighting was fun.
Yeah.
But Shoe Swapper joined us for that. Mm-hmm. And just the crew that was there, like it was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Just playing around. And I guess that's not really it's kind of cheating because it's not interacting with random people. It was org night people, but
yeah.
that was the most fun wild thing, I think.
I think for me, the most hilarious random. So again, to your sentiment, I wouldn't call this random, but there was an org night, and this has to do with Groza. Groza's the other character in the story. So
of course he is.
It's our first jump town, and I have pulled reconnaissance with my Eclipse. I'm up on the ridge line. I'm observing, right, calling in direction, distance, all that crap. And I make the comment, I'm like, man, I should have brought, crews. I should have brought drinks or something because I'm down to like 35%, health. Mm-hmm. And like a minute later, I see this tiny little like rock, like ROC. I see a tiny rock like climbing up the hillside. I'm like, who is driving up to my location in a small vehicle with their lights on, like giving away my location in my Eclipse where I'm supposed to be stealthy? I'm like, what's happening here? Groza has chosen to leave his post to leave their responsibility, what they were doing, get into a ground vehicle, drive their happy ass up to my Eclipse with like 10 cruises so that I could hydrate.
It's like, Groza, you abandoned your post, but I have to thank you.
But thanks for not letting me die.
Thanks.
It was hilarious. It was hilarious for me because of the sequence of events. It was just like, hey, you know, I should have brought, you know, some liquid. Let's add it to our SOP. Let's add it to our packaging list. Next thing I know, this little small white dot is coming towards me. I'm freaking out because I'm in Eclipse. Like, should I just go torp him? Like what's happening with this one dude? It was a really
First ask questions later.
the soul provision way. So yeah, but it also led into. Like the future of RP, the future of gameplay, like that happens in real life. You have refitting and resupply missions, you know, with troops that are down the line. You know, you're going to need that. Who's to say that you don't? So, I thought it was a hilarious moment. It was a kind of a foretelling moment, but, man, and with that, Con F 2 minutes over our time.
No,
that's it.
I have one last thing.
Oh boy.
And this is a special thing to commemorate the year. I need to unhook this first.
Yeah.
I took the song Free Falling, probably by Tom Petty, but John Mayer's version's better. Okay. I will fight anyone on that.
Oh, you brought that
guitar out. And I rewrote it, and it's called Free Flying.
Oh, no.
It's about our adventures in Star Citizen. And you can place yourself here as the character that is being sung about. But I'm going to sing and play this, and that is going to be all she wrote, I think. Let's hope this is in tune, because the temperature shift in this room has...
Let's do it.
Can you hear that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to adjust the mic so it's a little better, but...
I love it.
All right, here we go.
Let's do it.
I don't have a multi-mic setup because this is off the cuff, but this is Free Flying, about soul provision and the adventures therein. So, oh wait, no, it starts. I'm gonna do this too. The classic musician thing, remove the headphone from one ear. He's a good boy, loves his mama, loves spaceships, and Orson too. He's a good boy, crazy about flying, loves dog fights and bounty hunting too. And it's a long flight from Pyro to Stanton. There's some pirates, but they're not that smart. And he's a bad boy, 'cause he won't even miss them. He's a bad boy for stabbing their hearts. And he's free, free flying, flying. And he's free, free flying, flying. And all his org mates are loading them boxes, gonna cash in for some serious UEC. And he takes off, doesn't plan to dust them. He found his crewmates, his spacers for life, and he's free, free flying, flying. And he's free, free flying, flying. And yeah, he's free flying now, 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 he's free flying. He's gonna fly out over New Babbage. He's gonna write his name in the stars. He's gonna free fly out away from Atmo. He's gonna leave this world for a while, and he's free flying, and he's free flying, and 'cause he's free.
You get it?
Free flying, and 'cause he's free flying, free flying, free flying, yeah. So there you go.
Holy man. Damn.
That's a 10 o'clock at night performance if I ever heard one.
Dude, that's solid.
Whatever the mystery of the time changes in your neck of the woods, listener.
Yeah. Dude, that's phenomenal, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
Again, delivering what I know you can do. Badass,
Sometimes.
man. Badass. Well, damn. I'm
just glad I didn't sing "Free Falling" that whole time, because let me tell you, that's burned in here. So
yeah. Do a little bit of editing, throughout the show.
Oh yeah, that's to celebrate, 100
awesome.
years, 1 year of Beyond the Verse, and of course there's many more. And again, as you mentioned earlier, it's not just Beyond the Verse. Yeah. Beyond the Verse is the podcast. Soul Provision is arguably where the magic is happening, and 100%. I think that's important to call out. So
yeah. Man, 100%. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, and even during episode 1, it's a blessing to have you, friend. I do. We go back several years now at this point, and it's been nothing but an honor, to do these 2 episodes with you. We'll do it again sometime very soon. Yeah. So really do
episode
appreciate
100.
It. Yeah, let's not wait that long. That's another 50 episodes. No.
I don't know what I don't know if I could top that for episode 100.
Hey, you better have a whole band next time.
Oh, goodness.
Let's do it. I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I didn't pass the buck over to you. If people want more, and they will, they're going to want more of Conif. They're going to want more of questing around the multiverse. How do we get more of Conif? Where do we find you?
The easiest place is YouTube, simply at Conif. I put out a video, like, it was last year. Why I left ESO for Guild Wars 2 that blew up. And it was not my intention to do that. I put it out there for 50 people. So yeah. You'll see Conif. It's the same picture as my Discord handle. Yeah. Avatar, whatever. But then Questing the Multiverse should be on all podcast listening apps. So Spotify, Apple, Google, you name it. It should be there. And that's just Questing the Multiverse. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, that is my dear friend Shiloh and I's journey through all sorts of different IPs and whatever nerddom you can fathom. We do like book reports. Yeah. We actually do have a monthly episode dedicated to board games. We have another friend that we bring on, and we do an entire board game centric episode as well. So awesome. But that's Questing the Multiverse. I do put all those episodes on my YouTube, so if you're not an audio only type person, you can find those there as well. Phenomenal, brother. Phenomenal. Well, for everybody else, thank you for joining in, whether on YouTube, on the video replay, or here on the podcast. It's been a blessing. Thank you for 50 very memorable episodes and a full year of a phenomenal storyline. So thank y'all so much. I hope this finds everybody well. Safe travels as you traverse Beyond the Verse. Take care, everybody.